Hey, I came a bit late today because the release was a little bit trouble tonight. I think we have time for Q&A.
Anyone have a question? Or you can either tweet at me, post in the Telegram, or just stand up and raise your hand. So shout it out, and I'll repeat it for the other floors. So the question was, is there priority for stability in general for the product because this gentleman lost all his hair?
Oh no, I give it the full and honest opinion. You know, it's still mostly built by volunteers, and like fixing bugs is the unglamorous stuff. So I have been pretty restrained on like fixing stuff, and some people are helping, but we would need more people that help on fixing stuff instead of like everyone's trying to like shove in new stuff. So like one thing I'm doing is like I work a lot behind the scenes to like have a better structure, make this a little bit more into a company. You know, the fun thing is like I didn't want to start a company, so like I just found out that starting a foundation is like company on hard mode. Because you still have all the things of a company, but you have like all the other things that you need to figure out as well, and relationships. So I think everything is done except like know your company stuff on American banks. They're really confused that I'm not American. But that should be sorted out next week. We have commitments from pretty much, I think like 10 companies already, so we can actually hire people. So like soon I actually can have minions that I can tell, you need to fix stuff. And you have a bunch of people already that are interested. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. At the same time, I built a lot of relationships. We tried really hard to not make China fragment away. So now we have like people from ByteDance helping us, from Tencent. And you know, I added all these people and I was like, yay, they're going to help us. And then nothing happened. Because I had to learn the hard way. It's like, we work very different with like large corporations. Like you put someone in there from a large corporation without a PM, they are lost. So this took some learning as well, and some more meetings, which reduced my sleep, but it was very interesting. So I think we have a good path forward that actually the NVIDIA people have been the most helpful so far. ByteDance has been really good. I started building a team at OpenAI that helps. We have one full-time person there already. Like there's a lot more that are interested, but I'm also very careful because I also care about public perception. If I join this company and then there's like 10 people, then it would look like, oh, they're taking over the project. And that's the last thing I want. Like OpenClaw needs to be Switzerland. That's why everything is a little bit more complicated, but I think it's just the better path forward. And yeah, you can always roll back. I can't promise that your hair will ever grow back, but there's a lot of stuff aligned that this will eventually be much less headache on updating, but never fully. Next question. We have one mic or two? Yeah. Okay. I mean, look, ultimately, I'm not a doomer. No, no, no. But like to like get great into this next century, a lot more people need to spend a lot more time with AI, and also understand like what does that mean and how to deal with that well, right? So we definitely gonna see like more people that fall into some form of AI psychosis, and like if I'm very sure, I'm sure I'm somewhere on the spectrum because how can you not be with this like technology that's like the most exciting since the internet? Um, I think the current models are definitely not sentient yet. You never forget like they are trained on the full variety of the internet, including Reddit. And Reddit is actually not the worst. It's probably like this way worse pages where we get data from. But they're getting very convincible. And I think us as like being here, like thinking so much about this tech, we are ultimately the ones that need to educate other people. No, you cannot trust everything that your clanker tells you. And no, if you tell the machine, I will kill you, and it tells back, yes, I will kill you, that doesn't mean like it's sentient and will kill us. But at the same time, yeah, it's certainly something to consider. Also, we can probably talk an hour about that question, so I'll take another one, but I'm here for a while. You first.
Against jailbreaks and prompt injections is really difficult, and the current approaches to defend might not work. So I'm curious what areas of AI safety and security you see as the most important to invest in now, or sort of what you see as more important for the future and potentially more likely to work.
The question is about AI safety and security, which is only tangential to like what we do in OpenClaw, right? Because it's the harness, and ultimately, I'm not the person who controls the model. I want to make it very easy to run any model, be it local or remote. I mean, even though some people on Twitter say I hate local models, I didn't buy the Mac Mini. I bought the Mac Studio. You know, like my Lobster runs like on deluxe hardware, calls it Castle, but even that is not good enough for the really beefy ones. I need to buy more Mac Studios. Safety is, I mean, honestly, it's a super hot topic. I don't even know what to say, because like, it's kind of easy to jailbreak those things. They are served on everything that's on the internet. That also means if you look hard enough, you'll find it on the internet anyhow. So like, oh no, the model is so dangerous, it can tell me how to build a napalm bomb. Well, I can just Google how to build a napalm bomb, you know? It's like right there. So like, I think some parts are like a little bit hyperbole. But also as you see like, especially in security, it's going to get very interesting because those models are becoming so good that all our software is going to break down. And if you, I mean, I think we are like the forefront in many ways, because we're not just getting like hundreds of PRs every day for stuff. We're also getting like about like 50 security incident reports every day, because like everyone is hitting up their clankers and sending us stuff, and a lot of it is invalid. A lot of it is valid, but like super fringe partly. It's like, oh yeah, you create a file and you check for soft links and you check for hard links, but your hard link file has a timing issue by renaming. And it's like, yeah, this is something I have to accept, but it's probably never going to happen. And I don't think any human would ever even have thought about it. But now those tools are getting so good that we have to fundamentally rethink how we deal with all of that. And like for probably February, March, that's all I did. Like I fixed fringe security issues and I broke OpenClaw and I robbed this man's hair. And some of mine went gray. And I could have shipped a lot of cool features, but I was basically DDoSed by slob security incidents that are like not completely wrong. Technically, you have to accept them. Practically, if you don't run under like these certain conditions, it doesn't apply. That's going to be very interesting, especially with like the Mythos or the potato. I work at Big Token now, so I can't tell you more. But there's a lot of very scary stuff coming. I think it's actually more scary than jailbreaking the model to tell me how to build a napalm bomb. Because that stuff is out there, right? But like raw intelligence that can like combine multiple attack vectors to find love to break out of everything, I would be more afraid of that. And all the variations of that. But I also don't have a good response.
Things that you think the big labs wouldn't be working on, where like, you know, a small lean team like really should be trying to.
We can talk more. Like I cannot comment on what the labs do, but we think we have some more questions.
I'll just make a comment that I think I can talk more freely because I'm not employed by a big model company, right? I'm ClawCon. But I think the interesting thing is like this is not a one-person problem. Like for some reason, everyone believes like we're going to solve it for them. I think that's like partially true. We're at the forefront of this, but it takes a village to raise a community, right? Like a lobster, exactly. And I think we're going to get everything from security companies to big tech companies, and we are doing a lot of work in that space. It's just we haven't had the time to kind of like disclose the way we operate and do a lot of that work. But I think it's like a not one-person problem, but I think the whole industry needs to come together to solve it.
I think it's time for at least. Sorry, there was someone more behind there. I'll take you.
Peter, so one of the things that got me the most excited about OpenClaw was actually the heartbeat. I thought the idea was genius. It's just waking up at given intervals, and then it seems that the thing is just sentient and waking up and doing things for you. And you are probably like more aware than anybody else of all this wave of hype, like people saying like, yeah, suddenly I woke up, it divorced me, it sold my house, it did everything for me. And like with engineers, when you progress from junior to principal, I guess at the beginning people are more prescriptive with you. They tell you, do exactly this task, and then they give you objectives, and it's up to you to figure out how. And in the heartbeat, you can go very prescriptive and tell it exactly what to do, or give it a lot of freedom and objectives. But I feel on the second side, personally, I was never able to get something as impressive as I have been able to see in the internet. So what's the most impressive use, so basically useful proactiveness that you have seen in the wild?
Oh, that's a lot of comments at once. First, huh? Oh, it was praise about heartbeat, and then what's the most useful thing that I saw about OpenClaw? Honestly, I think heartbeat we can do a lot better. Like I built heartbeat when I was in Morocco and like had this moment where I sent the voice memo and like I had this, oh wow, this is something. And then I had to wake up early the next day and I was like, what's the most weird thing I can do? And I added heartbeat as an alarm clock. I probably built like world's most inefficient alarm clock, but like setting it to like every 30 minutes. And my agent like was installed in London, but my computer was in Marrakesh, and I told it to like just play the music. But then like at night I closed it, and then tried to like connect, and it couldn't connect, and then like sent me text messages like and got like more and more frustrated. It's like, no, Peter, you have to wake up. It kept sending me messages. So I think that was the one moment where heartbeat was really working well. But I have a bunch of ideas on that, like once I'm less bogged down on bug fixes and helping people on Twitter. Most amazing thing, I don't even know where to begin, but the most cool thing I saw in the last bit was I was talking to Scott from Microsoft, and I mean he used Copilot, so I guess you have to if you, but like he used Copilot to like pull up all his meetings, and then connect it from his work computer, like his lowercase claw, to his home computer, to his uppercase claw, and ask it for like the blood sugar levels, because he's diabetic, per hour, and then correlated the blood sugar levels with like the people in the meetings to tell him like who stresses him out the most. Okay, we have one more question. Yeah.
For your OpenClaw, what it's changed for all of us. My question is more about bounties, right? Since you've gone to this sort of foundation, which means you could possibly access some money, is it possible that you could create bounties where people in open source can now solve specific problems rather than you also hiring teams, so we can then contribute in that way on top of the open source? Because like you just mentioned, people are creating new things rather than fixing problems.
But I'll tell you why this will not work. Because as soon as you create bounties, there are going to be like 1,000 people starting up their clanker and sending us flop PRs. And then it's up to us to look at those 1,000 PRs and figuring out which one is actually at least tested by a human. And it will be like 100 times more work than if I would do it myself and solve it. So instead I want to use that money to create jobs for people to actually can help full time. But I'm afraid like I love the bounty concept, and I think security bounties are like great. But now that like creation of content is so easy, and you don't know. You know, I can do a prompt, one sentence prompt that generates me 10 pages of text, and it will take me 30 seconds, or maybe a minute if it's Opus, if it's Slowpus. Or I could spend like 10 hours to like write those 10 pages and just like use AI to like rewrite it to fix my writing style. But it would not be immediately obvious which it is until probably I'm at page 4 and I'm like, what the fuck is this? So a lot of the concepts that used to work will no longer work because creation is now easy and eyeballs are expensive. And I used to be very different just a few years ago. But you know, what we want to do with the foundation is like the goal I have in mind is get people closer to AI. Not because I like what a company that sells AI. That could be misinterpreted. But because it's better if you think about it and understand it, and if you think, oh, this is a scary thing and I'm afraid. No, it should be this fun thing and this weird thing, and hopefully find a way that actually enriches your life. But like OpenClaw is like one aspect of that. I also like want to like help support conferences. I would love to build something that actually educates people, because I think there's going to be a big gap in terms of how to work with those things without going cuckoo. And I'm open for ideas. Okay, last one.
Only editing the files, the sole document, the hard.
Blasphemy! No. All the. It was funny when I built it. I mean, I built it for me, and then like some people managed to adopt it, and it was. But usually it took them a weekend. So if people complain now that it's hard, should have tried it in the December edition. And then I was like, okay, I need to work on setup, and I used Codex, and it built me all those templates. And then I tried it, and whatever came out was like so boring and bland. So I went to to multi. Back then it was Claude. The D is silent. It took you longer than I thought. And I told him, like, infuse some of your personality in those files. So I would not edit them by hand. I would ask your clanker to edit it, because it works better if they use the language that they expect. But both will work, you know. Models are really good by now. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, but give it a round for Peter. But I want to actually give Peter the opportunity. You had said you're trying to hire people for the foundation or support full-time OpenClaw. How do people apply? How do people like participate? Is it just submitting, code to the project? Like, what's the best way to do that?
I mean, to be honest, we're gonna look at people who already contributed or are maintainers first. So if you've never done anything with the project and sent me a CV, probably not the right strategy. There's a lot of better ways how to get involved with the project.
Great, thanks so much. Okay, we're gonna spice things up a little bit. We're gonna have Andrew. He's gonna come and show how his clankers get to battle.
Okay, all right. So we're going to see if I might not have sound on this one, so I apologize if it doesn't work. Yeah, that's it. Give it a shot. All right, cool.